Welcome, everybody. This is just going to be um, some thoughts I had for an upcoming match. We will be going and shooting the EP PRS Freezer Burn match this weekend. It's going to be January 5th. Chris, with 2 tenths left, you guys should check out his YouTube channel if you haven't already. More than likely you have, because I'm a nobody. Uh, he's the match director. It's a new season. Obviously, it's 2025 season, but he's a new match director for this new season. And so we're going to go out there and support him and see if we can have some fun. But after the last match we shot in Indiana with Josh Stemrick and the Indiana guys, um, between there and the Cattaraugus New York match, I know there was a lot of cold fatigue, gun problems. So we're going to be trying out some new stuff. And while I tape up some dope cards for this weekend, I just wanted to go over a few things. So, first things first, like I said, we're going to tape up some dope cards while we go over this. So, what I'm going to be doing differently and or bringing in my pack specifically for cold weather. So, this is just my thoughts on shooting a cold weather match, especially being here in the Northeast region. I live in South Central, just barely west of South Central Pennsylvania. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're getting precipitation like you would up by Erie or Buffalo or anything like that, or like the pounding of snow that they got at that Cattaraugus match, which I believe was the first qualifier match in the region a few weekends ago. However, the last match I shot at Indiana was a high of, I believe, like 27, 28 degrees. When I did up my Kestrel, before we got started, it was 26, and I had a lot of problems. If you've seen my video before of the walkthrough of my gun, obviously everybody knows it's a Rimx. If you know me, if not, welcome. It's a Rimx. I've been shooting Ely now for a little over one complete season, and I had some problems. Some of which may have been mechanical, some of which may have been self-induced, now that I know a little bit. But what I'd like to do is go over what I am going to do and what I'm going to try to do to mitigate mechanical failures to help me shoot better. Or not necessarily shoot better, but do better in the match while I am trying to shoot better. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run a dry bolt. Now, something we'll go over with an old bolt face is, if you don't know, this is a Rimx bolt face. So you've got a fixed extractor and then a tensioner system here that's under tension with a long detent and a spring. So the way these work is the round comes up out of the magazine, goes in there, and then as it goes in the chamber, it gets pushed up in. And then that tensioner is going to hold that bullet in there, right? Well, with this push feeding system, and I've heard a lot of people say, well, Rimx is control feed. The rim going up into it doesn't completely go up in there. The chamber lifts that last little bit. It takes some of the wax off of the case and the bullet, and I get a heavy wax deposit at in the valley between 9 and 3 o'clock. So you'll see some people at matches, they're going to take a chamber brush and try to scrub that out. Before you worry about that, you want to make sure that there's no oil, especially on this tensioner, which is something that chasing problems, maybe last season I was oiling this tensioner. My thought process being, well, if it moves a little bit more freely as that round comes in, it'll go in there into the bolt face a little faster, and then it'll be held better. And what was happening was it was allowing it to move too freely, and then if there was any little bit of tension with some other problems, you'll lose the empty brass that you're trying to extract it and then also eject it. It'll drop it in your mag well. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that that is completely dry and clean. And then in the main points of contact, I usually run just a little dab of grease here on these cams for inside the bolt. They're going to be dry. And then there's also another set of cams back here as well. When you take out the firing pin spring, I'm going to run that dry as well. I'm just going to make sure that this bolt is completely dry. There's nothing on it. There's nothing that can gum up or become more viscous from the cold and slow the bolt down. So it'll help you in your process, because everybody has a cadence whenever they lift the bolt, throw the bolt back, and chamber another round, right? So first things first, dry bolt. Check. We've cleaned this and wiped it down with oil, so that oil is going to remove anything that might have been on there. The next thing is going to be, like I said, when you see those people with a chamber brush, brushing out the chamber, trying to remove wax. The problem I was having at the Indiana match was from the build a wax at the bottom of that chamber. I could go a stage, 2 stages, 3 stages even, and there weren't any problems. And then all of a sudden, it was so cold that wax buildup was starting to push into the bolt face and push into the rim, and the rim was pushing into the wax and it was holding it. And it was actually pulling it out of my bolt face. So we're going to take a chamber brush, put it in our pack, and then we're also going to take some alcohol. I have, I believe, 90% isopropyl, 91% isopropyl alcohol, and we're going to take a microfiber cloth. And what we're going to do is I'm going to clean that breech every stage. Maybe overkill, but with as serious as we take this hobby, I don't want to. I want to mess my own match up. If it's a shot I miss, it's a shot I miss, But if it's mechanical issues that I'm having to overcome all day, that's slowing me down and throwing me off rhythm and being one more thing to think about and be super conscious of every time you're trying to work a bolt, I just don't want that to happen. So then we've packed our chamber brush on a short rod. I know some guys literally have just a dedicated rod with a little handle. We packed our alcohol with a microfiber cloth and or something that's not going to lint up real bad. The next thing is going to be more shooter related, something to help you keep warm. I have electronic hand warmers. I've got something here. Let me step out of focus. I've got something here that Justin Lyons had at the last match I shot that I thought was really cool that I looked up. These are called hot snaps. So there's a little metal disc in there. You just snap, causes a chemical reaction, and it causes or from that chemical reaction, then crystals grow and it becomes very warm, very fast, and it lasts a little bit. You can get on their website and you can get a whole pack of them, bigger ones and those smaller disc ones that don't last as long, for like $20. I thought it was a good investment, not just for cold weather shooting for matches, but for hunting, travel, sporting events, etc. Right? I think it's just a good piece of kit to have. So then we'll check off this one and this one. Now, when we're going to talk about cold fatigue at the match, we're going to talk about the shooter, and then we'll talk about equipment and the challenges that both of them will face. And again, this is just my thoughts on it. And if this helps you prepare for a match in the cold, or if you want to travel up here and shoot with us in the cold because you're like us and you're a little special, you're more than welcome. I'd love seeing everybody at the range, whether they're customers of mine from the gun store, people that I talked to online, or new customers now of mine, or new dealers, or new people that I meet at events. like meeting everybody at these. So the first thing we'll talk about is you're slower. It's cold, so your movements are slower. Um, you don't want to be outside. None of us want to be outside in the cold, but you don't want to be outside. So I think the high for Sunday is, I believe, 26 degrees. So it'll be just the same as it was the last time I shot. So you're going to move slower. You're going to process slower. You're going to be just slower. I mean, that's the main thing of it. So combat that. Don't get complacent. Don't just say, well, everybody's slower. Let's focus on making good movements, building good positions, and good trigger presses, right? So then we're also going to be bundled up, which is also going to add to that slower thing, but then it also presents other problems. So if you, like, I really love a good base layer. Merino wool, hang tight here. Merino wool is a great investment as a base layer. I have a problem where I'll get a tension headache if the back of my neck gets cold, right? So this is a merino wool neck gaiter. I also have a giant head, and I'm big in general, 6'4" and weigh roughly 300 pounds, right? So this neck gaiter has been an absolute awesome purchase. It's 95% merino wool, and it helps cut down on the wind. It helps cut down on everything. Even if you get too warm, merino wool is naturally moisture wicking, so throw it in the pack. Obviously, I'm going to wear leggings. If you don't want to make the investment on merino wool, long johns, there's nothing wrong with them. It's going to add another layer of insulation between you and your pants. Now, legs, I don't go super heavy. My legs don't get cold, really. I always run a little warm. So I'll probably run, long johns, and then my 511 strikes, and then upper body. I'm probably going to run, I have this t-shirt that I typically wear. It's a Penn State shirt. It's long sleeve. I'll wear that. Then I'll wear, you guys have seen it on my first video, I have a fleece flannel. Fleece is a great, because it's a great mid layer. It's not a good base layer. It's not a good outer layer. It doesn't stop the wind or anything, but it's a great mid layer to add some space between your base layer and your outer layer you're going to have. So I'm probably going to wear a long sleeve t-shirt, that fleece, and then I'll wear some sort of jacket. Now, that's going to help you stay warm in between. But the problem I have is, we set these length of pull up typically in the best environment. So down here in my basement, beside my desk, I'll set it up on a tripod when I'm setting up a new rifle, level my scope, do everything, and set my length of pull. Well, my length of pull is not the same whenever you're wearing multiple layers and or a jacket. So what I like to do is have enough on that for a 10-12 shot stage, whatever it may be, I want to be able to take that jacket off so that I'm not changing how I'm building my position of the gun. The other thing is butt pads and such are grippy. They're going to move, and it always makes it feel different. So then you're conscious of something if it feels different, if it's changing your shot process, right? If it's something that's happening autonomously, you don't think about it. But if it's something that feels differently, you can't have that autonomous thought process and just do things anymore. So you'll think about it, and you'll think about that, and you'll miss shots. And I know it sounds stupid to some people, but it's a real thing, right? So then move on to trigger finger. This goes to being cold and how your body reacts to being cold. I mean, naturally, your heart withdraws blood from your extremities, right? So your trigger finger is going to have a little less dexterity than it typically does, and it's going to have a little less feeling. So we're going to want to make sure that we're conscious about it. I don't wear gloves when I shoot, and if I do, it's going to be a fingerless glove, but pretty much it's only going to be a glove on my left hand and nothing on my right hand. I'll have a pair of gloves in here to wear in between stages, but it's kind of like that jacket thing. It changes where my hand's going to go on my grip, where my finger's going to go on my trigger, and then consequentially, it's also going to change how you press the trigger. So no gloves for me. If you're wearing gloves, make sure that you're conscious about it. You're not going to feel your triggers. It's not going to be the same. It's not that you're not going to feel them, just not going to feel the same to you. And I've seen NDs and ADs with gloves on in the cold. And then I have appropriate clothing, but and then underneath it I put moving. But we already went over what I'm going to be wearing. If that helps you or not, great. If you want to wear a giant puffy jacket, maybe try that giant puffy jacket on in your gun room or wherever you do practice. Go to the range with it and see how it feels to move with that. Now, equipment's going to experience some fatigue as well. The first thing I put on our list up here is ammo/wax. We've already talked about that. We've talked about how it accumulates and it thickens because it's not going up in your bolt faces easily. I mean, even something like a Voodoo or a Bergera that is control fed, that's going up in the bolt face. Maybe it doesn't go up all the way. So then you do get assisted from your chamber, like the Rim-X is. Maybe it goes up in, but because if I had any Ely here that was cold, as I'm pulling it out of the box, this lot of Ely I have seems to have a lot of wax. So I mean, it's even to the point where I'm pulling it up out, it doesn't want to come out of the box. Maybe you have that problem, and as it goes in, it's going to scrape off any excess off your chamber. Things like that add up and they need to be addressed. So your ammo, it's going to cool down, it's going to slow down. The speed of sound is less when it's cold. Then you're just going to wax up your magazines, wax up your action, wax up your chamber, your breech, etc. Then we've talked about grease/oil/ whatever you're putting on your guns. That's going to turn more viscous. It's going to not be as fluid when it's cold. So things that are internally on your bolt, whether that's the bolt body itself, lock lugs, firing pin, that's going to slow that down, and it's going to be slower anyways. Metal reacts differently when it's slower, but then if you're adding something that's super heavily congealed because it's cold, it's going to slow it down even more. Something else put on here that's overthought but doesn't really happen honestly too much. I've done it a long time ago. I haven't had it happen in a while. Exhale on your eyepiece when you're building a position, fogging up. Typically, this system is going to be the same temperature as it is outside, so your breath coming on it's going to fog it up for a hot minute, and then it's just a mild inconvenience. But you could bring something to help with that. And then electronics fatigue. If you take your Kestrel or your phone, right, there's problems you're going to have with different ones. If you're running like Stray Lock or Eagle Ballistics or AB Quantum, if you're running any of those, your phone is going to not be slow like something like a Kestrel is going to be. I mean, Kestrel literally gets slow. Competition timers get slow. The displays, I should say. So you get lag from those, but if you're running your phone, it's harder on the battery when it's cold and it's extremely hot. So in this instance, we're talking about cold. It's going to be harder on your battery. Your batteries are going to wear down more. You'll have those problems. So keep your electronics warm. Check your batteries. Check your battery in your Kestrel. Check your battery in your send it levels. Check your battery in your crush it timers. Whatever you may be running electronically on the firearm or on person. Check those batteries. Have a backup. Have a plan for that. I'm going to try to be recording this match, at least documenting some stuff, most of it, some things. So I'm going to take an external battery pack or two with me just to make sure that I have something that can help me out if I run into some battery issues. Then I always make sure that I have, AA, lithium batteries for this right here. It's a great thing to have in your pack. The Hawes & Shield bat box is probably the best investment you could have to make sure that you just check the inventory on that thing for each match. It's going to have your disc batteries for illuminated reticle. It's going to have the odd battery sizes for your crush it timers and your send it levels, and it's going to have a slot for AA's. Make sure you have AA. Also, if you pack alkaline batteries for your Kestrel, there is a setting in there to go in there and tell it if you're using lithium or alkaline. It's meant to be run on lithium batteries. So if you do switch, just know that you can go in there and change it so that it'll run adequately for whatever's powering it. That's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm going to try to make sure that this video gets edited and gets put out before we go to the match. in Hamburg. Like I said, the PRS. If you're going to be there, I'll be very excited to see everybody. If you're not going to be there, make sure you check it out. Like I said, check out Chris's channel. He'll be recording something there, he said, and then I'm going to try to make sure that I get as much documentation as possible. I do have a GoPro hidden down here somewhere. Maybe I'll mount it to the gun or mount it to my head, look like a weirdo. Like I said, I'm going to try to be a little less awkward in front of the camera. Just I'm used to dealing with people for my job all the time, but I'm not used to just talking to my tripod with a phone on it. And then we're going to make some updates, make sure that these videos are of higher quality for everybody. Got a wireless mic. Thanks, Chris. Going to be putting up some more lighting back here, or down here, rather, to help with this. And then I've got a lot of products coming up. So instead of sitting here rambling, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like. And if you think this would help anybody during this cold weather season, make sure you send them my way. Have a great day.